And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 16th round of the 10th season of the Bandit Racing League, here presented by Full Send Racing Network. Welcome to the Lake Storage 125 at Chicagoland Speedway, presented by Lake Storage. Tonight's race sponsor, on behalf of the driver of the number 76, Mark Allen Bivens, who we will talk more about throughout tonight's broadcast. Hi, everybody. I am, as always, here on Full Send Racing Network, your host, Mr. Marshall Crocker Jr. Tonight in the booth, I am joined by, well, unfortunately, nobody for tonight. It's going to be a solo booth kind of night, but solo booth just means that, we get to put the spotlight on the drivers a little bit more. We're going to do more in-car interviews, make sure that we really focus on tonight's race and the context of it in the bigger season because, well, tonight is the regular season finale here in the Bandit Racing League. Tonight we officially decide which 11 drivers will make an appearance in the Bandit Racing League playoffs and, in turn, who will go on to attempt to win the Season 10 championship here in the Bandit Racing League. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Marshall Crocker Jr. Here I am on camera, as we can now see, and we are just about 7, maybe 6.5 minutes away from tonight's starting qualifying session that kicks off all of our broadcasts to help declare a pole sitter for tonight's festivities. But before we go too far, I do want to talk a little bit about our sponsor for tonight's race here at Chicagoland, a race that, again, has even more increasingly important stakes, so definitely going to be an important one to watch. But tonight it is presented by Lake Storage on behalf of Mark Allen Bivens, and we thank him, as always, for his contribution to the series and for sponsoring tonight's race. Lake Storage is a boating and RV storage company in Fairfield Bay, Arkansas. They are, kind of a local company to the area, very similar to Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And we love, shouting at the smaller, more homegrown local businesses. And not my, local area as a Canadian, but Arkansas, not too far. There are certainly further places you can get. But Lake Storage, we want to give them a shout out. So boating and RV, if you are in the Arkansas area and you're in Mark Allen Bivens and his family's approximate vicinity, we just want to, give them a shout out and support them. Unfortunately, nothing I can provide you as far as links, but for those of you in the area, we just want to, give you some information about an awesome business, and hopefully you guys check them out. Anybody that supports the Bandit Racing League series here on Full Send Racing Network is very near and dear to our hearts and those of the series. So always awesome if you guys can support them if possible. And well, tonight, on behalf of Lake Storage, well, Mark Allen Bivens off to a pretty hot start here in practice. As you'll see on this ticker rotating above my head, we have Mark Allen Bivens currently sitting third on the practice leaderboard. We'll talk a little bit more about the track and about the times here as we go along, but Mark Allen Bivens definitely right in the hot hand after last week's race at Talladega, coming home with another podium, finishing as the runner-up in a race that was heartbreakingly close to another victory this season at a super speedway for Mark Allen. Remember back at Daytona, he was our winner of the first race of this season. So would have been a big outcome for him to get a second win there. Would have been a pretty crazy sophomore season after his most improved driver winning season last year, but unfortunately did not come to be. It was won, in fact, by Bret Guzik in that amazing 4-wide, barn burner finish there at the very end. So definitely happy the way it turned out, as far as it doesn't get much more entertaining than that, but definitely it's a little bit bittersweet if you are Mark Allen Bivens, who we would show, but is currently on pit road here at the moment and is going to wait a little bit to run his laps for qualifying here in just 4 minutes. But here is a guy we need to talk about, and he was not here last week, did not make an appearance in the race at Talladega, and probably for decently good reason. Nick is not a guy that particularly loves the super speedways. Many would say it's one of the more random or more up in the air styles of racing, and Nick is a guy who is dominant at road courses and extremely talented at every other form of oval. Just you got to think is a little bit more in favor, let's say, of the more traditional racetracks like this one here at Chicagoland. This just over 1.5 miles, 1.52 mile oval. One of the more interesting, oval designs, oval styles on the NASCAR calendar. It is not currently run. It was effectively retired last season in the NASCAR Cup Series. In real life, has not been run since, I believe, 2020 or 2019. But it is interesting. As you watch Nick Nickerson go around here, we'll actually put him live on board here for a lap, just so you can get a perspective of what the track's going to look like here tonight. But if you want to watch her as we go on board with Nick, as he comes around kind of the middle groove here in turns 1 and 2, if you go onto the backstretch, you'll notice that it is not like most backstretches, and that it is not straight. It is not a straight line from corners 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. It is a constant progressive turn around the entire backstretch. So effectively the entire track, the only time you'll ever be going straight is here in this brief moment after you exit the turn 4 wall, and you get an effectively straight shot almost down the tri-oval back up to turns 1 and 2. So very technical racetrack, one that I think Nick is really going to have a fun time with tonight. He is actually bang on the dot tied for the fastest time of practice so far with, well, a name that we are also glad to see back this week as, well, we saw him last week, but he has been away from the series at least full-time for the last couple of weeks, and will miss the end of the season because he is, I know, not going to be able to run full-time, and he will not be a playoff entrant with the number of races he has missed. But Cody Welch, you guys know the storyline if you've been here for a while. You guys know the deal with Cody Welch, one of the best in the series in terms of like pure talent, especially racetracks like this in the intermediate style. He is lights out, and he has been for a very long time. But remember, that number 85 car is on a winless streak, stretching all the way back to season 8 of the Bandit Racing League. And yes, we already have a comment here in the chat about how Nickerson in first and Welch in second is pretty familiar to those of you who have been around the series for a while, but it hasn't been that way in a little bit. So great to see Cody Welch back. Great to see he's finding success up there in second on the leaderboard. So tonight could potentially be a very good night for the driver of the 85 once again, and making some appearances that don't necessarily have implications in the grand scheme of the championship, but still you got to think he is going to be pushing for everything he's worth to get that win and get the monkey off his back, as some would say. Before we go to your series points here and talk about your top 11 and those drivers who are on the cutoff and on the bubble to make the playoffs tonight, in the as we see a crash here between Benjamin Lacey and Bret Guzik in the background. But the drivers that are in contention to make it into the Bandit Racing League Season 10 Series playoffs, well, Benjamin Lacey is comfortably within that window as we see him come off track after that crash with Bret Guzik. But what makes Benjamin Lacey so interesting is that despite the fact that he will not effectively be in contention for tonight's regular season championship, that really is a two-horse race between Nick Nickerson and Bret Guzik, he has had an incredible season at this point so far, and the number of wins he's racked up at this point, he's been so consistent, so repetitive, and he's been truly a top-tier driver. He's just found this late race pace. I was calling him the closer earlier in the season for very good reason, and I think he has just really kicked himself up a notch. He's put himself in that top echelon of drivers that will definitely, I think, compete for the championship this year, absolutely, in Bandit Racing League Season 10. Is going to be somebody I think kind of falls in the background a little bit in the narrative with the regular season championship tonight between Guzik and Nickerson. We're going to talk to both of those guys at some point throughout the broadcast, I'll make sure. So we just want to make sure that we give Benjamin a spotlight here tonight, and he's likely going to come home for third in the regular season title, and it has been such an incredible year for him, so it would feel criminal not to give him a little shout out here at the beginning. But with that being said, the end of practice has now come to be, so we're going to take a moment here as the cars get ready to head out there for their first qualifying attempts, and we'll wait here as the server resets. Everybody gets ready to go for their first laps, and in the meantime, as we just going to jump to a more general camera. There we go. We're going to go through your current regular season standings heading into tonight's race at Chicagoland, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa, always one of our titular sponsors of the series. So thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa for everything they provide to the series. And they're at the top of the leaderboard. We may have, well, we've had a bit of a change, a bit of a shake-up since last week, or at least what we announced back at Talladega. At Talladega, we announced that Bret Guzik would become the new leading points leader heading into tonight's race at Chicagoland. He would be the man to beat for the regular season title after his win at Talladega. That is no longer the case. It's going to be Nick Nickerson leading the points as a result of a provisional he took at Talladega. And that did give him at least some points to dedicate towards his points tally, as the provisional rule works for every driver in the series. And it does mean that he does get more points than originally suspected, and he will have a 14-point lead tonight on Bret Guzik heading into tonight's race at Chicagoland. So it's truly not a gap that is impossible to overcome, but is certainly going to mean he has some work to do. As Benjamin Lacey heads out right now, we're actually going to go to Bret Guzik here as he gets ready for his first qualifying attempt of the night. So we'll go to him in just a moment. But remember, we also need to pay attention to that bottom half of the top 11, so that 11th, 12th, and 13th spot. Currently, the final spot in the Bandit Racing League playoff grid is held by Jason Greenwell, with Mark Allen Bivens only 6 points ahead of him, so definitely both very close to the cutoff line. And the two drivers that are still mathematically eligible to take those spots from them are Benny Hogan, driver of the number 11, there in 12th spot, and Kevin Foster, driver of the number 8 car, in 13th place. They are both 10 in the case of Hogan and 24 in the case of Foster, points out of a playoff spot at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on their tally relative to those other drivers who are fighting for a playoff spot in tonight's race. But that's going to be the really important tally to watch, and those are going to be the guys that could potentially be making up those final couple spots in the playoffs. But remember, this season the top 11 will all make it into the Bandit Racing League race, chase for the championship. And that will be a series of 6 races to crown a champion, with the winner at the end of that point reset that will start next week, with the driver with the most points at the end of the season taking away the championship. And as previously mentioned in the series and announced by our very own Bill Harkins, the founder of the Bandit Racing League, the champion this year will take over entirely the Bandit Racing League. Will have the rights to everything as it pertains to both the Bandit Racing League as a series and the merch side of it through Geezer Authentics. All of those components will be run by the driver going forward that wins the championship this year. So huge stakes on the line as have been announced, and those are the guys that could potentially see themselves in the running to take such an honor. But as we get a little ways into qualifying here, we can already see the leaderboard up there up top, and the first thing you will notice is that we got some teammates once again sitting there in the top 3. The top 3 of Nickerson, Hamilton, and Hart Jr. are all teammates for GFR Racing and currently sit 1, 2, and 3 on the leaderboard. But here comes the Kevin Foster number 8 car, the Houston, Texas native. He is coming around turns number 1 and 2 as we speak, carrying some really good speed off the exit there. That 8 car looking fast on the runoff, and Kevin Foster's been heating up recently, getting better and better week after week. Was really on a good run of form there, especially a couple weeks back in the race previous to Talladega there at Homestead, as he comes off of turn number 4. Could be another good lap here for Kevin. Really like what I'm seeing from the eyeball test. Let's see where the number 8 car goes on the timing tower on your left. Actually don't see him provisionally as of right now. There he goes. So actually a second down on the fast time, currently sitting 21st. So gonna have to pick it up a little bit here on this second lap, but I'm sure he will. We said a couple minutes away from the conclusion of qualifying, 1 to be exact. So we are almost ready for tonight's official racing event here in the Lake Storage 125 here at Chicagoland Speedway. But off the final turn, here comes the number 8 car of Kevin Hart. Not Kevin Hart, Kevin Foster. There's the Foster and Hart on the team, and there's also a famous comedian of the same name. But Kevin Foster going to put it into 16th there. Going to go 32 hundredths of a second down on Nick Nickerson. And up there in 5th now is going to be Alec Daffin. And up there in 4th is Sean Britt. And Sean Britt is a guy I really want to highlight because he has quietly been having an excellent run of form here these last couple weeks in the Bandit Racing League. He's racking up top 5s left and right, really starting to build a points tally for himself. Unfortunately, the way the rest of the season went until this recent show of form, just not quite enough to put him in contention for the Bandit Racing League, playoffs. But he has been just absolutely lights out lately, getting those consistent top 5s, and we will make a point of talking about him more as the series goes along. Just going to take a quick moment here just to jump back to this graphic, because we've had a slight reset issue on the graphics, so we'll be ready to go with your visual in just a moment. So until then, before we go over your starting grid tonight, courtesy of Perfect Shine Auto Spa, we're going to take a moment here to talk about your schedule going forward this season, because I keep talking about the Bandit Racing League playoffs and what that looks like and the drivers that could be participating, the stakes for that particular series of events. But first, I just want to talk about, what does it actually look like to get to that, finale and Phoenix to end off the season and to declare ourselves a new champion and new series owner, essentially. Well, first of all, we got tonight's race, of course, at Chicagoland. Remember that this race was moved from originally July the 27th to today, August the 10th. So that is why the schedule will look a little bit different. But nonetheless, next week is still a race at Darlington there on the 17th of August, so a week's time on the Wednesday. That'll be at Darlington, and that'll be our special military appreciation race with some various extra important sponsors and some extra important causes to mention in that race. So that'll be a very special race for everybody. Going to see some alternative paint schemes run then, and really looking forward to everything everybody's doing for that, and obviously a very important cause. So that'll be at Darlington a week from now. That'll be the first race of the Bandit Racing League playoffs after the points reset that'll happen for all of the top 11 drivers with their points set back to the same amount. After that, we got Texas there on the 24th, and everything's bigger in Texas, and hopefully the 17th round of the Bandit Racing League will be the same way. Then it's Martinsville in the week after that, followed by Kentucky on the 7th of September. Then it's a back-to-back week of Richmond and Phoenix, both two very similarly long 1 mile ovals to cap off the season and to declare ourselves champion. With that, we are now ready to go to the racing action, ready to go through your starting grid and get ourselves into the racing that you guys tune in every Wednesday for the racing. You guys love to see what these guys can do, these extremely talented racing drivers, some friends and family, and I know some of you for a fact that just come to watch these races for the awesome entertainment. So whatever you are, let us know in the chat. Let us know what brings you to the Bandit Racing League. But what I know is that that driver sitting on the front row, on the inside of the front row of the grid, is your Rogue Energy Pole Award winner, Mr. Nick Nickerson, back from his 1-week hiatus at Talladega, ready to try to put the regular season championship on the lock. Well, we wish him good luck in doing so, and congratulations to him on being tonight's winner of the Pole Award, courtesy of RogueEnergy.com. Of course, Rogue Energy, a longtime supporter of the series. Use code Castle Esports off to save on your purchase at RogueEnergy.com. So thank you, as always, to Rogue Energy for everything they do for the series. With that being said, let's get in your starting grid for tonight. We're going to have to run it through pretty quick because these cars are getting ready to go here at Chicagoland. On the front row, it is Nick Nickerson and Christopher Hamilton, both GFR Racing teammates, followed by Ricky Hart Jr. sitting there in third, so an all GFR top three. Sean Britt, on an excellent run of form, starts in fourth. Alec Daffin and Benjamin Lacey start fifth and sixth. Dawson Guzik, often up here in the commentary booth tonight. He will be down there on the racetrack. He starts in a very impressive seventh. Benny Hogan starts in eighth. Curtis Yancey ninth, and Eddie Hagge rounds up the top 10. Bill Harkins and Hayden Paul, your next two on the grid, followed by Connor Gibson in 13th and Brett Guzik in 14th, trying to go for that regular season title. Gonna have to work his way up from there. Cody Welch surprising 15th, David Lakey 16th, Kevin Foster, the final GFR car, in 17th, Greenwell 18th, Mark Allen Bivens in 19th, Jason Rome in 20th. Ulrich and Jackson will be 21st and 22nd, and that is your field. Let's get ready to go for the Lake Storage 125 at Chicagoland Speedway. We are off. Your top two GFR cars of the 2 of Nick Nickerson and the 15 of Christopher Hamilton, rocketing off into turn number 1, and a great start here so far for both of those extremely talented drivers who were very quick and flat out pace here in qualifying. To Ricky Hart Jr. already getting the move done down the inside of his teammate. He will take over sole possession of the second spot. And now Alec Daffin on the charge, already taking the spot on Sean Britt there in that first set of corners. Now he's looking for two here down the inside of Christopher Hamilton. He goes, and he will take yet another one. So early on here, going backwards is the 15 car, Christopher Hamilton, who has now kind of evened it out, and will go side by side here for the moment with the 11 of Benny Hogan. The first lap here coming to an end. Nick Nickerson still your race leader, and it's Ricky Hart Jr., his teammate, moving ahead of his other teammate and the 48 of Alec Daffin to go take over second place. But very early on, we have a caution here, our first of the night here on only lap number 2. Let's see what has brought out the caution. Not seeing on my screen or on my telemetry any visible reason for such an incident, but it looks like Bill Harkins was involved in some sort of incident. So let's go back a little ways. Here's the previous lap. That's the 5 of Bill Harkins, that black and light blue car there on the bottom side. There's Brandon Jackson, see up on the top side, that Codemasters car, and that was your problem. Looks like Bill just kind of got caught himself between Mark Allen Bivens in the 76 and Kevin Foster in the 8 car there. And let's go back a little ways again just to make sure we see the reasoning for such an incident. So let's go back to Bill Harkins' perspective. Going to go on his cockpit view. So again, this is the 5 car of Bill Harkins coming off the final turn here on lap number 1. You're going to see up on the inside in his left side mirror is Kevin Foster. On the outside is Mark Allen Bivens, who just suddenly sweeps up around the outside, forces Bill down a little ways, and he catches the 8 car Kevin Foster just like that. Relatively cut and dry, gets spun, but keeps it going. Actually, very little, if any, damage on that number 5 car. So he will keep it in line, keep going. You can see a little bit of left rear spoiler damage on that number 5 car. But we're seeing a couple guys down pit road, actually, for your first caution break of the day. Kind of a surprise. 2 GFR racing cars in that list. Christopher Hamilton's coming down to get some service here early on. Kevin Foster, likewise. Same with Steve Ulrich, who's coming down in the 25 car. And Jason Rome will round off your field and is your final driver here down pit road in the 81 car. So back out to the front is going to be Nick Nickerson. And again, he is a guy that is going for the regular season title tonight, really looking to maximize his points here at Phoenix. But I think more than anything, just trying to avoid mistakes is going to be the ideal goal of the night for him, because a 14-point gap, pretty significant, enough that you got to think it's going to give him a healthy buffer to maintain himself in the championship. And we know Nick, not a guy to typically give up all too many points. We've had a similar issue here for this moment, just as we get ready to get back to racing here in a couple laps. So racing in full visibility will return here in just a moment. But yeah, I'm really excited for tonight's race. I think Chicagoland as a racetrack going to provide some really exciting multi-groove racing. Really any track where the bottom line isn't the dominant area to be on the racetrack at all times usually creates some really good multi-groove racing. And that is what we like to see here in the Bandit Racing League, is just guys doing what they're good at, guys getting an opportunity to really show their stuff. And when it comes to stuff, it is hard to find much better than Nick Nickerson. So there we go, just getting stuff reset as we speak. And again, thank you to Lake Storage, our sponsor of tonight's race. And if you were in the Arkansas area, well, Lake Storage is your place to go for all boat and RV storage services. And of course, we want to thank them for their sponsorship of the Bandit Racing League, and more particularly the broadcast side here on the Full Send Racing Network. Again, we'll be back to full operating capacity here in just a moment. In the meantime, again, we want to thank you all for watching tonight. And again, this is where we want to get you guys involved. These weeks where, well, we haven't had one in a while, but these weeks where it's just me up here in the booth, Marshall Crocker Jr., this is where you guys really get a chance to shine. We try to incorporate you guys as much as possible. Hear from you guys, the fans. You guys are the ones with the fun perspectives and the outside looks. And sometimes you guys catch stuff that just we don't up here on the broadcast. And that's why you guys are such a valuable part of the broadcast. And this is really a community project rather than the work of just myself or just anybody else in the Bandit Racing League. So we really want to thank you guys, and with that, we are now ready to go back to your full regularly scheduled coverage. And it is Nickerson, it is hard on the front row, and the lights on the pace car are out. So only 3 laps, and now we are ready to get back to it. It's about a 30-second lap here, as you saw. The fast time in qualifying just under a 31-second lap. 125 laps tonight in the Lake Storage 125. So we are going to see a fair number of laps, but if we go green, could be just over an hour. We'll see what we end up with at the end here. But it is a green flag, the first restart of the night, and it is the number 2 silver entry for Nick Nickerson's GFR Racing entry. And now down to the bottom, Alec Daffin, big charge down the inside of Ricky Hart Jr. right off the bat here. Got a great restart. So did Curtis Yancey there, back in the 51 car. Had a great year, really consistent. Will be featuring in the playoffs this year, but kind of quiet these last couple weeks. Didn't race last week at Talladega, so could potentially be a big night here for Curtis Yancey as he sits behind Alec Daffin, who was not able to get by Ricky Hart Jr. as the 1 car got back on the horse and really got a great run out of turn number 2 that last time by, and has taken over possession of 2nd. Back in this battle here for 5th, that's Benny Hogan, driver of the number 11 on the top side, and Benjamin Lacey, driver of the number 7 on the bottom side. 2 of the very best in the series. 2 guys have been having great years. And Sean Britt, again, guy I've been trying to shout out as much as possible lately, because he's quietly having one of the best campaigns of anybody these last couple weeks. And coming off of turn number 4, should have a pretty good view of the cars in front. Let's go on board here with the driver of the number 98. See the great run he got through the tri-oval, rolled off the gas a little bit and just dipped down in behind that inside car of Benjamin Lacey. Didn't work out though. Is going to stay behind these 2 cars and is watching an epic battle here between the 11 and the 7 up front. There in the background, you saw the lap car of Christopher Hamilton, who at the moment is going to be a lap down there in 22nd position. Remember, he started up there in 2nd, so the night just not going the way he wanted to start off with for Christopher Hamilton, but he is the only driver a lap down at the moment, so could potentially be a benefactor of the lucky dog pass for the first driver a lap down in the race on a caution, getting their lap back. We could see that potentially for Christopher Hamilton. Just in behind this battle we've been talking about so far is Eddie Hagee, driver of the number 97. It's a pretty good run so far for the driver of the 97 of Eddie Hagee, and started up there in 10th, so qualifying the top 10, never too bad. Eddie definitely a guy that can put the car pretty consistently in the top 10, if not the top 5 in qualifying. Always a very fast car on pure pace, but is really now starting to work his way forward on track. And Hagee Tutoring Company, you see they're advertised in the back bumper, so we'll make sure to give a shout out to that. But off of turn 2, he's going to slide up a little bit in front of Connor Gibson, who's also worked his way into the top 10 now. Of course, got to shout out the Canadian. He always puts the flags and the livery there on the car, so we got to give him the shout out. Got the plaid there too. That number 31 car, again, building speed as the season goes on. Another guy very similar to Sean Britt has had a really good run of form recently, and now he is right on the back of Eddie Hagee. You see as we come through the tri-oval, really making that gap disappear lap by lap. And Bret Guzik now, another guy we obviously got to talk about, because he is the guy battling with Nick Nickerson. Sits 14 points down coming into tonight for the regular season championship. And, well, it's not the situation he was hoping for. I know last week after Talladega, he did think he would become the new series points leader overall, and unfortunately, due to the way that our point system works, that is just not the case as he anticipated. But, well, it could very much be the case after tonight, depending on the way the race goes. Bret, definitely a guy that benefits from some more traditional races, really good at the field strategy aspect. really good at just staying composed, generally speaking, and that's how he's just racked up so many great points-paying results this season that have led to him being in the running for that regular season championship. But the way tonight is going so far, as we see everybody kind of single filing out a little bit, the way that the groove works here at Chicagoland, you're going to see a lot of that with guys just tucking to that outside wall and trying to get the best run, keep up as much momentum as possible all the way around the racetrack. But yeah, this is the guy that I really think is going to have a non-conventional type of night. You know, Nick Nickerson, we've seen many times this season, including, what was the race before Homestead, Miami? I am blanking on what race in particular it was, but Nick Nickerson just had an absolutely dominant performance the other week. Got up front, took the lead, and just drove away. And it's one of those situations where, you know, the chaotic races are often gonna benefit drivers that, you know, maybe in flat-out pace or maybe good at the long runs, they may struggle at, so the chaotic races will help them. But the simple races will either help the strategy guys or they'll help the guys who are just flat out the fastest. And often the guy who's flat out the fastest is this guy, driver of the number 2 car, as he is driving the wheels off right now, but he's getting caught very rapidly now by Ricky Hart Jr. Watch the number 1 car there to his outside, because he is about to get freight trained by his teammate there. Down to the bottom he goes, and through goes the 1 car, the advanced auto parts entry of Ricky Hart Jr. Great bit of driving there from him. Let's do a lap time comparison of these last couple laps, last 5, between the number 1 car and the number 2 car. And it's been Hart faster each of the last 2 laps. But prior to that, it was in favor of Nick pretty much every time. So don't know what's happening here. Nick was a full half second off of Ricky's pace there that last time by. So don't know what's got that 2 car off his game. Maybe it's a team strategy call. I wouldn't have thought so for GFR Racing, especially not considering Nick's trying to come away and preserve the regular season championship here tonight. But crazier things have happened. It just means that we do have a new race leader up there up front, and we will keep an eye on the 51 car too. He's coming up here in a hurry. Curtis Yancey looking to get his name in the hat and potentially be in contention for his first race win, I believe, of the season, and certainly not the first of his career. Curtis Yancey, always a guy who's been very, very quick in certain races. The short run's always how we talk about him. Those stints where you don't have to worry about tire wear too much. You can just go out there and flat out drive. Curtis is one of the best at that, but has also really come into his own as a long run, more patient racing driver as the series is going on. So he is putting that to good use right now. Down to the inside that goes the 51 car on the 2 into turn number 1. Looks like he'll get it to stick if those tires will grip to the bottom of the racetrack, because he sent it in really low on the apex, but does get it to work for now. They go side by side off the exit, but it will be the 2 car taking the momentum and keeping the position for the time being. Well, we keep an eye on this battle, but if you guys got some speakers at home or anything, your headphones, you want to crank the volume up a little bit, we're going to go to a crank it up here for a moment as we watch these 2 race cars battle it out side by side. Down to the inside goes the 51 car. Looks like he'll get the pass done. Will clear him into turn number 2. Turn number 1. So whatever ailment is going on for the 2 car, he's going to have to get it figured out as he tries to chase down the number 51. We're going to a crank it up. So crank those speakers up, folks, and get ready to hear the sound of these NASCAR Xfinity cars as we continue to see this battle for second place. Well, the 3-horse race continues here. Up front, Hart, Nickerson, and Yancey continue to be your top 3. The spots of the 2 and the 51 have swapped back and forth, as you've seen in the background a couple times, each through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Seems like each driver has an advantage in a certain corner, and right now the 51 is looking fast here in the first half of the lap. He almost slides up a little bit into the 2 car, but Nick keeps his foot on the gas and holds the momentum there on the outside. So the 2 car stays in second for now. One of the biggest movers of the race so far, sitting 6 spots up from 15th where he qualified, is Cody Welch. Of course, a fan favorite there, driver the number 85 car. He is working his way forward, trying to track down longtime rival Mr. Bret Guzik. Looking elsewhere on the racetrack, Brandon Jackson is also making some improvements, and what a weird season it's been for Brandon so far. He's had some great performances, had that win at Homestead, Miami, but he's also just not quite had the overall consistency to be up there towards the top of the championship as far as battling for tonight's regular season championship, something that based on his pace he should definitely be in the running to do. But now he's working his way forward there. Didn't seem to qualify. Started back there in 22nd, but has since moved up 10 spots, and now he's looking right behind Dawson Guzik, who is side by side with the 98 of Sean Bret. So we'll keep an eye on them here for the moment, but we're of course going to have to watch out for the top 3, because that gap between not just the top 3, but now the top 4 of Alec Daffin as well getting involved in that sits at 0.2 of a second per driver. So that could really spice up at any moment and turn into a really entertaining battle for the lead. But right now, the entertaining battle here is currently for 12th. We're effectively 10th and 11th position, as Brandon in 12th watches the inside there, splits the gap between the two drivers. Could go all the way through here if he can get a good run off of turn number 4. But we see up front, too, an even better battle between Benny Hogan here all the way to the outside through the tri-oval. Actually, I think a little bit of damage or scraped the wall or something, because he was in the running with these guys for a moment, now suddenly falls a half a second back of Bret Guzik, Cody Welch, and Eddie Hagee. Up ahead of them, as well as Alec Daffin, who I just talked about, was kind of getting involved in this battle for the top 3. And yeah, you can definitely see Curtis Yancey not too far away as we come off of turn number 4. There is the white and black car with the yellow number of Alec Daffin on the 48 car. Then it is Yancey and Nickerson just up there in front, and Benjamin Lacey right in there behind. So really every spot here in the top 10 has moved around. Nobody on track right now is in the same position as the which they started. So it's been really exciting to watch all the early race maneuvering here, and it's very clear the pace in a flat out lap here. The first fresh lap green flag run you do in qualifying, perhaps not truly representational of what it's like here to run in the draft, to run in the dirty air, and to run these longer runs on tires. So going to be interesting to see who's got the race pace versus who had the qualifying pace. There again, we see Nick Nickerson having some more trouble here, keeping Curtis Yancey and really the rest of the top 5 behind him. There's Alec Daffin peeking out on Curtis Yancey as we speak, but right now the 51 car is just content to settle in behind for a little while. Might bite him though, as here he comes. Alec Daffin in there in behind is starting to make some headway towards the top 3s. He continues to get those really good runs off the bottom that don't seem to scrub a ton of speed for him. That just suggests that he's maintained quite a bit of grip to this point in the run. Which he hasn't been making too many passes on track. He kind of moved up from 5th to 4th and then really settled in there, but had really good lap times. So wouldn't be surprised if Alec Daffin's a guy to watch tonight for the greater picture. Is Cody Welch here now again getting involved in this aspect of the battle for the top 10, and that being towards the 5th, 6th, and 7th spots. Is Alec Daffin going to slide up a little bit in that battle for the top 4? Almost makes contact with Benjamin Lacey, you saw, as Lacey came back down the racetrack. And here goes Bret Guzik to the bottom, going to put a little bit of pressure on the 7 car, but here comes Cody. And remember, Cody started all the way back in 15th, currently sitting in 8th. He's the fan favorite for a good reason. Sorry, that is flipped that. 15th spot, he started up 8 spots to 7th. It's been a really good night so far for Cody Welch, right on the back bumper of these two very talented, well, race winners in each in their own right this season. Not a bad tandem to be behind. Again, as we watch Benjamin Lacey take a peek there on the outside of Bret Guzik, and again going to go all the way up, not taking the that inside apex down the what is the surface called there, down the apron through the tri-oval. No, is instead going to stay up a little bit higher, going to conserve his momentum and go for the wider run here into turns number 1 and 2. But yeah, up front, we got to talk about your race leader here, Ricky Hart Jr. What a standout performance this has been so far for the driver of the number 1 car. Has yet to score a win this season, but is going to be a playoff driver based on his consistent points tallies. And we talked to him in the interview a few weeks ago. We know that he's really been looking forward to that win. He's really looking to get back in victory lane and really, again, to find that extra gear to prove that he has not lost his touch since that championship back in season 7. He knows what it takes. He knows what he needs to do to get a race win. And tonight he sits almost a full second ahead of a battle of drivers. 6 guys separated by an equal amount of 1 second. So clearly he's just, right now he's at a different level than these guys sitting right behind him. But he's not far away enough to have too much comfort, as there goes Curtis Yancey down the inside once again. So finally, Nick Nickerson, who had really settled into second there, is going to get some opposition trying to knock him out of that spot. And in a moment, he could also be seeing it from Bret Guzik, who just made the move on Alec Daffin. That's now 10 spots in just over 30 laps. Been a great race so far for Bret Guzik on flat out pace, and just the 04 car has been on a roll recently. It's why he's in the hunt for the regular season championship tonight, and it's why he's arguably the favorite this year at this point in the playoffs after being last season's champion. Well, it's a different car and it's a different atmosphere, but he has come into this season and just blown it out of the water. And right now, he's looking for a pass on the champion before him back in Season 8 in the Xfinity cars most recently, that being Nick Nickerson. So the two guys battling for the regular season title have found themselves on track despite starting in very different spots. And I think the guy chasing for that title, 14 points down coming into tonight, I think he's about to be ahead of him because the pace Bret is showing comparatively to Nick, who just couldn't keep Curtis behind him and now doesn't really seem to be putting the burners on either. It's going to be close. Two of the very best here, and I feel like Nick always finds a way in those moments where it looks like he's down and out truly and is about to lose a spot to somebody important. He always finds a way to claw it back. Once again here, though, it's interesting to watch the influence Alec Daffin has on this battle because he just seems to keep slotting himself in behind guys that are duking at it for a top 3 position, and sometimes he picks up those free bonus spots when somebody gives him up, and sometimes he just kind of sits and waits, and right now he's in sort of sit and wait mode as those two guys up ahead of him, the two, again, most recent champions of the Bandit Racing League, as they go at it side by side in a racetrack that is proving really fun for some side-by-side battling moves. Like, look at this. You know, we haven't seen a straight single file line here in the top 5 in what feels like 20 laps. So that being said, we have a caution flag as we speak, and that'll bring the racing action to a halt here for just a moment. Or we did. My telemetry just lied to me, so no caution flag. We saw somewhere on track an incident popped up, but no, looks like it was just the cars rolling a little bit there on the exit. We did see a car go to the back, and that is Brandon Jackson off the racetrack as we speak. So as Bret does finally get the move done here earlier, or further up on track from Nick Nickerson, let's see what happened to Brandon Jackson here somewhere on the racetrack. David Lakey now going to be our first driver down pit road as we speak. It's looking like it was an internet connectivity issue, unfortunately, for the driver of the number 99 car. So that would explain why it was so erratic. Well, we thank Apex Sim Racing for sponsoring the Apex Sim Racing replay, but didn't really need to go replay anything. So, of course, Apex Sim Racing, always your place to go there. Use Bandit for 5% off your purchase at apexsimracing.com. Link, as always, in the description below. They make button boxes and all sorts of different racing gear, as well as wheels, wheel bases, pedals, anything you need to start yourself in sim racing and hop on iRacing here, just like the Bandit Racing League drivers. Apex Sim Racing, a great place to go to start setting up your rig, and use code BANDIT for 5% off. Another spot down there for Nick Nickerson as Cody Welch, driver of the number 85 car, continues to go forward. He was third fastest in practice. He's now third on the racetrack, and he's going to gain a couple more spots because down pit road comes the number 1, your leader, of Ricky Hart Jr. And Ricky is not alone either. He's accompanied by both Curtis Yancey, who was sitting in second at the time, and as well as Nick Nickerson, who pits from actually the 5th spot by the time that he pulled onto pit road after losing another position to Cody Welch. This part of the stint, especially as it went on, not particularly benefiting Nick Nickerson on track. And Alec Daffin now going to be 1 lap later coming down pit road as we speak, in a side-by-side battle here between Bret Guzik and Cody Welch. Both guys fighting for that final spot down pit road. Cody Welch, with how fast he was in those last couple laps and how much speed he brought onto pit road, if he doesn't have a speeding penalty, could potentially take your race lead here after this pit cycle. Up to the front of the racetrack goes Jason Rome. Will become your new leader as he's going to go furthest on this current stint. No, he did pit on that lap 3 pit stop, the only pit stop under caution today so far. So he's going to get the benefit of a couple extra laps as a result, and will now be your race leader for at least 1 lap here. Second, Steve Ulrich, Kevin Foster, and Bill Harkins. The race off pit road, though, begins, and Bret Guzik is going to beat Cody Welch out, just like he beat him in. But Cody Welch there, actually a much wider line there he takes through the pits. I think it might almost be faster, but even faster than both is Ricky Hart Jr. The number 1 car goes by with the 51 and the 2 in tow, and all 3 cars will pass Bret Guzik for the 1, 2, and 3 spots on track. So Bret Guzik beats out Cody Welch, but that battle is going to be close here for a couple laps, and Eddie Hagee not too far behind either. He just came off pit roads, that 97 car, making good pace as the pit cycle works itself out. And typically a guy, I always talk about those intangibles, stuff like pit ins, pit outs, and guys getting into their box quickly. Eddie Hagee's a guy that's always been pretty good at that, as we see Bill Harkins on pit road now. Jason Rome still out, still your race leader, roaming around on track, and Steve Ulrich, as well as Kevin Foster, all coming down pit road this time. So once these guys have come down, as well as Jason Rome, who's going to go another lap, it would seem, probably pitting this time by, all of those drivers will cycle out, and the proper race leader will be in place. Going back to Ricky Hart Jr., who his gap is still fairly reasonable. 7/10 of a second at this point in the race is pretty substantial with how even the pace has been overall, but just not quite far ahead enough to make up for the gap that he had earlier. Remember, he was up about a second and a half at the peak of that battle for second. Now, still a very good gap and still very healthy pace there, but Curtis Yancey is starting to chase down the number 1 car. We're going to keep an eye here on this battle between David Lakey, Jason Greenwell, and Benny Hogan, the 84, the 83, and the 11, all battling for the number 8, 9, and 10 spots here. So we will keep this battle going in the background. Benjamin Lacey as well, surprisingly not too far up the road there, less than a second, actually less than half a second here. He's effectively in this battle, so the 7 car also involved at the moment. But we're going to go to a quick side-by-side commercial break, your first of the night. We just have to take them intermittently in some of these solo broadcasts. But we will go side-by-side. We will keep it locked here on the Full Send Racing Network for your action. We'll make sure we're showing you what is most important on track. So your top 3 right now, Ricky Hart Jr., Curtis Yancey, and Nick Nickerson, and all of that is correct under the current pit cycle. So everybody who is in the lead on strategy as well. But thank you for watching the Lake Storage 125 here at Chicagoland Speedway. We will take a brief break for just a moment, and we'll be back in just a second. And we are back in the middle of a side-by-side battle for second, courtesy of Curtis Yancey and Nick Nickerson, who continue to duke it out, as it feels like they've done all night there for second position. Also a fun battle here between Cody Welch and Eddie Hagee, as we speak, that we will go back to in just a moment here. But yeah, the 2 car now on the offensive once again, as Curtis Yancey does put the block on a little bit there on corner entry, but not mid-corner. The 2 car going to sail by him up in front. That was a That was a professional pass there from the 2-car of Nick Nickerson. Going to go right to the apex there, all the way to the grass, just to ensure that there is no potential space for Curtis Yancey to make a move. So back to the bottom goes the 51. Up top goes the 2. We'll see if that wider line, that further up the racetrack style around the corners is going to mean that the 2-car can save tires a little bit longer. It's something we know he's been historically great at, as he is pretty much everything. And something that Curtis has struggled at a little bit in the past, but is definitely remedied as his career in the series has gone on. So we'll see if he can put that to the test tonight. But Nick now 4/10 clear. Correction there, that battle was not between Cody Welch and Eddie Hagge. It was instead between Cody Welch and the driver just in front of him, that being Bret Guzik. Again, 2 veterans of the series, 2 all-time greats, and 2 guys that would not surprise me at all if they were able to win tonight's race, if we get some cautions, if things reset, or even if we don't. Just if they do their usual thing and benefit from some long runs. Bret definitely a guy who's won on field before. Cody, a guy that I think is known for those exciting races. He's one of those guys like Benjamin Lacey, the closer, that only wins those exciting ones where he's got to do something crazy at the last moment to pick up the win. But Cody really attacking here on the apex, is finding a way to run right in behind the 04 car, Bret Guzik, incredibly closely. So really impressed, really impressed with what I've seen from him all race so far, and especially coming all the way back from 15th. Both these guys up 10 spots from 14th and 15th respectively. Down to the inside, going to take a peek. There goes the 85 of Cody Welch, and might even get a good enough run here off the exit in turn 4 that he can make an attack, but no, just unfortunately gonna have to settle in here for just a moment. And around he goes. So yeah, it's incredible. It looks like the only car on track that can run this close in the dirty air and still maintain momentum is the 85 car. And I think that's going to be a very valuable skill to have as this race goes on, if the 85 car can work his way up to the battle for the lead. Currently held by Ricky Hart Jr. by almost 2 seconds over his teammate Nick Nickerson. Really impressed with what I've seen from Cody. Making these appearances that we weren't sure mid-season if he'd run any more races this year, but he's really gotten back in the habit of making appearances here on the Wednesdays, and that's what we love to see. Cody, one of the greatest of all time in the Bandit Racing League, and tonight starting to prove why as he tries to chase down last week's winner and your defending Bandit Racing League Series champion. There's another battle on track. Jason Greenwell goes side by side with the guy who feels like he's been in a battle every lap this race. Benny Hogan is the 83 car, going to go to the outside and give Benny the inside line. And that Rollcraft car, of course, shout out Rollcraft, as always, sponsor of the number 11 of Benny Hogan and the sponsor of the number 5 of Bill Harkins. So Benny going to get the better of Jason Greenwell here this time into turn number 1 and 2, but Jason can always fight him back, as he often does. Jason really been dialed in this year. He's on the bubble for a reason for the regular season final spot in the points, and we'll do a quick points update in just a moment. Going to go through and talk about where guys are comparatively for the regular season title. But I want to give a shout out to the Clutch, those who are from Clutch Automotive tonight. Big shout out on behalf of Kevin Foster. Thank you guys for watching, and we always love getting some shout outs, and just so I know exactly who we can shoot some attention to and who we can thank for being either a first time viewer or for your continued support of the Bandit Racing League and our coverage here on Full Send Racing Network. That's Benny Hogan we just went on board with here as he continues to try to get himself away as much as possible from Jason Greenwell. But as we said, let's do kind of a quick check-in on the regular season point standings, or at least how we run from where we started to where we are now, and that is going to be your Through the Field, courtesy of Perfect Shine Auto Spa. And thank you as always to Perfect Shine Auto Spa for sponsoring any of our segments pre and during the race. And right now it is Nick Nickerson doing everything he has to do to take home that regular season title there up front. Sitting in the second spot, not in the first position, but his rival for that final spot in the regular season championship in this final race, Mr. Bret Guzik, well, the 04 car is in the number 4 spot and is being chased again by Cody Welch. You can see in the background is really tracking him down, not giving him any space to breathe. But Nick is currently leading the points battle in the race and in the regular season as a whole, so is looking on pace to take home that regular season title, I believe, for the 3rd consecutive season, or at least every season that I have been a part of the Bandit Racing League so far. The guy who was second coming in, again, not doing too badly, but this camera angle has shown exactly what his biggest problem has been. It's been Cody Welch here these last couple laps, who's just been chasing him down, giving him nothing to work with, and he's getting closer and closer with each passing lap. But Brett Guzik, definitely a guy that needs to start getting some spots. He was 14 spots down, or 14 points down, I should say, coming in. He would be about 18 or 19 coming out. So just has to find that extra gear, has to kick it into, kick it into high time and really start moving forward. And he's been quick. He's been fourth. He's been top 5 all night, but he's really got to find that extra pace to make up that second and a half to Curtis, and then in turn to Nick. And then has to get Nick to start falling backwards. And again, we needed a bad race for Brett Guzik to take home the title with that 14-point gap, and we're not getting it, at least not in the first half. Down on the inside again goes Cody Welch. And, well, we want to talk about the other important battle to keep an eye on, and that is the battle for the final spot in the regular season title. So we go to Jason Greenwell here, driver of the number 83 car. And again, we'll just remind you, we're going to put up the regular season championship points going into tonight's race and remind you what the situation was. So there at the top of the leaderboard was Nick Nickerson, but down to 11th, it was Jason Greenwell, followed by Benny Hogan with 419 points, 10 less than Jason's 429, and Kevin Foster at 24 points down. So if we look at the race order at the moment, Benny Hogan is doing everything he can. The driver of the number 11 is sitting up there in 8th, is ahead of rival Jason Greenwell, but he is 10 points down here heading into tonight's race, and I believe one spot will at most get him only 2 extra points. So going to need to work his way forward, going to need to, if possible, track down Benjamin Lacey, who sits about 3.5 seconds ahead. And, well, now he's going to have to track down Eddie Hagge, because that battle is, every time I talk about a driver right now, they get themselves into a little tussle, and that's the 7 and the 11. Sorry, the 7 and the 97, I should say. Duking it out currently for 6th, as well as Brett Guzik and Cody Welch. That battle that continues to sit in that particular order. Then we see Kevin Foster and Bill Harkins, the 8 and the 5 car, back there in 18th and 19th, respectively. They're right behind Mark Allen Bivens as well, who's up 2 spots from 19th to 17th in this race. These guys kind of just hovering around here in the back right now, staying on the lead lap, staying in potential contention if we get a caution coming out. And really the most important thing right now is just keeping the car clean and hoping for some late race chaos. And remember, Kevin is the final guy here in that sort of through the field about guys we need to spotlight for tonight's regular season finale. For the guys that could make it into the playoffs, the top 11 in the series, remember, after the regular season, do make it into the chase for the championship here for the Bandit Racing League Season 10. And Kevin Foster tonight, unfortunately, was already 24 points back of Jason Greenwell there, who currently sits in 9th. He sits in 17th. So 8 spots down, and he still needs to make up that 24 points. It's going to need the race to go in a different direction here for Kevin. And he was decently quick there in practice, too. So kind of a surprise, you got to think, there for fans of the number 8. But, of course, it's been a great year for him. He's had those podiums, those really good performances. It's just finding that consistency has been hard for a lot of drivers this season in the Bandit Racing League. And I think that is the only thing that has kept him from potentially being a whole lot higher. And not just the playoff order, being in the playoffs, but potentially being in the top 5 and having some wins under his belt this season. Well, we continue to watch that battle between the 04 and the 85, but now we need to kind of keep an eye on the, well, I should say that, I guess the deficit now that continues to shrink lap after lap. The 2-car of Nick Nickerson, teammate of race leader Ricky Hart Jr., has been faster each of the last 5+ laps. You know, a tenth and a half, half a tenth. It's little improvements, and not like he's absolutely, steamrolling him right now, but he is getting there. And as the stint goes on here, now past the halfway point tonight's event, 64 laps down out of 125. That's what you want to see if you're a Nick Nickerson fan, is just, start to get that momentum back, maybe evidence that he has conserved a little bit better than his teammate. And we'll see if that's the case, but Curtis Yancey not really factoring into that battle for the top 2 anymore, though he does still sit in a very impressive 3rd place. And then it is Brett Guzik there back in 4th. And Cody Welch, of course, in 5th. So both these guys could be in the podium positions in just a moment. And they are, generally speaking, just making up time. That gap from Cody Welch to the race lead, that down to 2.25 seconds. So that's nothing. That's something, especially a guy as fast as the 85 has been all night, can make up. But again, in the short term, it's just a question of getting by this 04 car, who appears to be a defensive brick wall, though a very fast one, because these guys still continue to make forward progress towards the race leaders, even as they continue to battle. always really fun to just get to see these guys in their, kind of natural habitats. Just seesaw on the wheel, making those little movements, remembering that there's drivers inside these race cars. It's Cody Welch. Speaking of little moves, going to pull off the racetrack a little bit early on this fuel stint. Now, I think he went about 36 laps, not including the time he spent in pit lane last time. Remember, there was the brief caution, right? He didn't pit, but ran under a little bit less speed there for that caution lap, which, of course, would save him a little bit of fuel. So, it's surprising that he pits this early in this stint, and now it's going to be Curtis Yancey and Bret Guzik, a guy who benefits from having Cody to no longer worry about, as he just pitted the lap before. So Bret will use that momentum, get by Curtis. He's up into third, washes up right in front of him in the 51 car, an aggressive dive back down to try to get that spot on him, and I think he's going to. Great racing here from the 51 car to immediately fight him back, not give Bret any time to run away. And it might pay off here. They're still dead even off of turn number 2. He gets loose. The 51 car saves it. Saves it. Keeps going. Gets the hands moving and gets the car back under him. What a move by Curtis Yancey. That's why we love to watch the 51. He's exciting. He's talented. And he keeps the hands moving when he needs to. But the only problem for him is that only directly benefited Bret. And means that he will continue to move forward unopposed. So I'm back on the racetrack as we see David Lakey down pit road there. Further in the background, back on the track is Cody Welch of the 85 car. Will again buckle down, start to move his eyes forward. But again, the big surprise for Cody is just how early that pit stop was, and now we're starting to give him some company. Ricky Hart Jr. on pit road as we speak. Here he comes, the 2 car of Nick Nickerson as well, the 51 of Curtis Yancey. So only Bret Guzik going to stay out there for that extra lap, and this is already planting the seeds for something we've seen many times. If Bret runs long on fuel, it is usually for a good reason, and it's usually a very good sign that he's taken the race in a very, long form, long-term thinking sort of way. And when he has nights like that, when he has races that have that sort of style, usually he wins a lot of them. So could potentially be a good night for Bret Guzik if he can keep that fuel consumption low. Now he's on pit road 1 lap later, so even that extra lap is going to help long term on both keeping his next stop short and ensuring he's on fresher tires a little bit later in the stint. It's even just interesting to watch the way these guys sit on the racetrack or on the runoff road back onto the pit lane. There goes Cody Welch. Remember, he pitted a couple laps early, so going to do the undercut there is the 85 car. Cody Welch going to jump ahead of a couple guys, and presumably Bret Guzik, who will run the extra lap there on an old set of tires, presumably losing him pace. But it does mean that his tires are going to be a little bit older, and now those guys behind him going to benefit from the fresh rubber for a couple laps. But they're going to go side by side immediately. The teammates, some suspicion of team orders there in the chat that these GFR guys, I guess, may be working together, may have some sort of grander scheme, as we see in the background there. Bret Guzik now just exiting pit road behind Mark Allen Bivens, so he's going to lose a considerable amount of track space to these guys, but again, will have the freshest tires of anybody for the longest period of time. But again, this battle now going to start forming up, trying to find a good camera that captures both of them. But there is the 2 car in front in that gray entry, and there's the black, red, and yellow number 1 of Ricky Hart Jr., who's been your leader pretty much the entire race so far. He took it pretty early from Nick Nickerson and just didn't look back. So surprised to see after all that speed that Nick was considerably faster there, but considerably being about 2/10 a lap there by the end of that last stint. Really surprised to see that he has just found this pace. He's come alive as the race has gone on. Typically a very practiced guy. He probably knows his flat-out pace. He probably knows his speed, and I don't think he's a guy that learns quite as much here as the stint goes on as some guys who maybe don't get the time to practice. Not to say Ricky Hart doesn't, but definitely I would have thought this would be more of a Ricky Hart Jr. oriented race here as he went along. So the 2 car and the 1 car both going to pass their teammate Kevin Foster here, who comes out of the pits, currently sitting in 13th position there, and that really good looking bright red number 8 car. And once again, Jason Rome going to run the longest. He's just pitting as we speak, so race lead will pass to the guy coming off of turn number 4 as we speak, Cody Welch. And well, if you're a longtime fan of the series, we pass under the checkered flag in the start-finish line. This is a battle you guys have seen many a times, but it's been a while since we've seen the 85 and the 2 car duke it out on track. Remember the 85 car on 2 or 3 lap older tires, just a little bit older rubber. Yeah, 3 laps, but that 3 laps is pretty significant and should mean that the 2 car more than likely gonna just sneak by here and and pretty handily take that position, but not to say that Cody can't fight him off. Yeah, as he flies down the inside there. I think that the 2-car with that pace he's shown later in this stint and the last stint, as well as those fresh tires, should give him the spot, but Cody really gonna send it there on the outside of the line into 1. Tried to maintain all that speed and just couldn't carry it through. So it's going to be the 2-car back to the race lead here, as again his teammate Ricky Hart just continues to sort of settle in and drop back a little bit, dropping back about I would ballpark somewhere in the vicinity of, yeah, again, maybe a 10th a lap. And it looks like he is catching Cody Welch though, who is on older tires, so he should be up there in contention for second within a couple laps. But as the lap times come in again, yeah, it's going to be 2/10 faster that time. Almost 2/10 the 2 of the 3 laps before, and over a 10th the other lap past that. So, yeah, really good pace for Cody Welch, generally speaking, there on those couple laps to get that undercut to work, to take the lead for a moment. Yeah, eventually it wasn't going to work. Eventually, those guys on fresher tires, as long as they can serve well and have just flat out pace, will always start to reel the guys who pitted early back in, and that's just the case right now. So, see if the lap traffic plays into a factor as well. As we see, that's Steve Ulrich there driving the number 25 car. Actually, really good night for him so far. Up 9 spots. They're knocking on the door of the top 10 as he currently sits in 12th. But Steve Ulrich there, kind of a middleman between the hard-charging Ricky Hart Jr. and the number 85 car of Cody Welch, who has really stabilized. Like, this might be his proper spot. Jason Rome into the outside wall there you saw in the background. The guy that's gone really long on each of the last two pit stints. Was curious to see what he would do on pace with fresher tires than anybody late, but he hits the outside wall there coming around turn 4. Luckily not in front of the leaders to cause any incidents that could change the race lead, but just a big moment there for the driver of the number 81 car, who again was having a really good night strategically. Was curious to see if that would transition over into his final result. Back a little ways up front, Dawson Guzik and Mark Allen Bibbins. This is the battle for 14th position currently. The 44 and the 76 tied very closely on track. And again, Mark Allen Bibbins up 4 spots. He started in 19th. He's currently in 15th. But yeah, I wonder if Mark Allen Bibbins had even higher hopes for himself, seeing how quick that 76 car was at Talladega. And, trying to build some momentum, I'd imagine. Trying to, get himself in the most favorable spot possible, heading into his second consecutive playoff appearance this following week at Darlington. We're going to put this battle on in the background, but we are going to go to another quick side-by-side here for just a moment here. And it's maybe our final of the race, as we are now 45 laps away from the finish here at Chicagoland in the Lake Storage 125, presented by Lake Storage in Arkansas. Thank you to Lake Storage. They do boat and RV rentals, so if you are interested in either one of those services or in the Arkansas area, please be sure to support our awesome sponsor in Lake Storage. But side by side we go. The 76 and the 44 car are going to go and create a little bit of a moment there heading into turn number 4, but the 76 car does get the better end of that stick, and as a result will move up into, I believe that is 15th position. And we are back here on the Full Send Racing Network coverage of the Bandit Racing League Season 10, Race 16 here at Chicagoland, the regular season finale. We are side by side with two of the very best to do it. The 04 of Guzik and the 51 of Curtis Yancey. They have been duking it out here for a couple laps now. This is the battle for the fourth spot. As up front, we see somebody in the background making wall contact. That's Curtis Yancey now, following up whoever just hit the wall a moment ago. Wondering if it's not Cody Welch, who did just lose a spot to Ricky Hart Jr. They were in that part of the track. I wonder if that is what happened to swap these two spots around for second and third, but whatever it was, Ricky Hart Jr. now back up into second. Cody Welch back down into third, but again, the 85 car, good to see him back in podium contention. And if he can bring it home and keep that 1.4 second gap behind Bret Guzik, he should be able to come home for his first podium. And a decent bit here in the Bandit Racing League. Again, not a lack of speed, just a lack of appearances. Would be great to see the 85 car back in such a good spot. Again, this battle continues between the 44 of Dawson Guzik and the 76 of Mark-Ann Bivens. He slides up and luckily able to check it up, catch the car, and not make contact with him. So they've been going back and forth at it for a while. This is the battle for 14th and 15th position. Well, we go up front, and in a race that at the very beginning was looking like, if anything, it was going to be a pretty dominant event for somebody, but it looked like it was going to be his teammate, the driver of the number 1, Ricky Hart Jr., but instead, in these last couple stints, it has been the Nickerson show. He's just taken over as the fastest car on the racetrack. Now going to pass under the timing line to start lap number 90, so 35 to go here in tonight's race at Chicagoland. But if you look at the lap time comparison between he and Ricky Hart Jr., he's just been 2 or 3 tenths faster every lap each of the last 5. So that gap is opening up as we speak, and is currently sitting at 3.6 seconds, meaning he's getting about a full second every 5 laps. And at that pace, if we don't get a caution, I don't think too many guys are stopping Nick en route to what would be his 6th win of the season and would officially crown him the regular season champion. Back we go a little bit to a battle forming for the final spot here on the podium. Remember, I was just talking a second ago about Cody Welch, how great it would be to see him back on the podium, and obviously how much he would appreciate talking to us up in the booth again. Well, he is going to need to fight this man first to do it. Bret Guzik sliding up off of turn number 2 and slotting himself right into the outside wall in a nice little spot to maintain maximum momentum. So I think Bret's just become the new guy with all the pace on the racetrack, and as a result, he's going to move back up into the podium spots. Very well deserved. We had a question there in the YouTube chat about what has happened to Benjamin Lacey, and that is a great question, and one that I unfortunately cannot answer at this current moment. A guy that really didn't need tonight for a very specific reason. He's comfortably into the playoff order. The points are getting reset next week. Probably doesn't care a ton about the grand scheme of the season and en route to his, of course, pursuit at the championship this year. But yeah, he's now 13 laps down, so must have had some sort of incident. I'm wondering if it was internet connectivity or wouldn't have been some sort of long form damage, I would have thought. No tow would take 13 laps long. And he has quick repairs, so shouldn't have been fixing damage for all that time. So I am really not sure, unfortunately. I'm going to guess connection issue would typically be what would keep a driver up for a very specific number of laps like that. But yeah, he's back on track, running decent laps, has some damage to the right rear spoiler. But yeah, really effectively out of tonight's contention for, well, really anything better than maybe getting back into the top 20, what we would say. Well, Ricky Hart Jr. is, again, still running fairly comparable lap times to the guys behind him, not in front of him, as Nick has now taken another full second since we talked about the lap time comparison a few laps ago. But, well, he's going to have a battle here with Bret Guzik, and it's really unfortunate here, because Ricky Hart has really played the role of the bridesmaid, but never the bride this season. His teammate Nick Nickerson just been making it really tough, I would say, to pick up the points or any race win. That just, I think Ricky is genuinely going to have to just absolutely class the field to work for it. He's really going to have to find pace over such a large number of really talented drivers, and that's what's so great about the Bandit Racing League, is the amount of just sheer talent we have on display. But in turn, how many guys you got to beat, how many guys you got to get the upper hand on in a given night to take home a win is insane in this series. So the one car going to do his very best to do just that, as again he continues to hold off Bret Guzik. Looking elsewhere on track, again, no real good battles besides the 04 and the 1 car. Down pit road now comes Cody Welch, the 85 car. early pit stop here for his final service of the race. This should be about what we would expect, I was going to say, with fuel cycles. I think a lot of guys coming in just about lap 100. Guys like Jason Rome may have been able to run along there, and but he is now out of the race, the 81 car. So looking elsewhere on track for guys that may pit a little bit earlier than expected. Well, we remember Cody Welch on the last cycle. He pitted a few laps early, had benefited from the undercut. Remember, he got the lead there for a little bit, but then as a result sort of drifted backwards as he went on. Thanks to Tony Hilbrins there in the chat for giving us a little bit of information about Benjamin Lacey. He and Dawson Guzik wrecked entering pit road, which would explain the massive gap that formed there. Again, I'm surprised that it was that sort of cause for quite that long. 13 laps is not a short period of time, so must have just been a struggle getting back to the pits, or needed to wait for a tow or something like that, or for damage to repair. Alec Daffin now coming down pit road, so is Bret Guzik. Alec Daffin having a pretty quiet night there. He's been in the top 10 all the way throughout. It was in the top 5 earlier, remember? He was in the battle for third for the longest time. Sort of settled into the top 5, top 10, just a really good point spot day for him. And again, he's going to be an absolute factor in the playoffs. Same with Bret Guzik as he comes down for presumably the final time in tonight's race, provided we don't get a bunch of overtime restarts. But Bret just kind of has to keep doing what he's doing at this point. I think effectively, unless Nick's strategy goes wrong here, unless this is not the optimal lap to pit for tires, which maybe it isn't, but unless that is the case, I think Nick has effectively got this race locked down. You see off of turn number 2, the gap is now 5.5 seconds to Ricky Hart Jr. Nick has just taken over, as he often does, and it's weird. Tonight was not one of those nights where I would have predicted Nick would have this sudden resurgence back to such dominant form. Not that he was slow at the beginning. Remember, he was your pole sitter tonight, for gosh sake, but it was looking at the beginning like it was his teammate that was going to be the dominant car, that Ricky just had the pace of the field. And since then, it has just not been the case. Now 25 laps to go this next time by. It's the all Nick Nickerson show, and here comes Ricky Hart Jr. Down pit road, the 1 car. Bringing it into the pit stall. Same with Jason Greenwell, a little ways behind him, up there in 4th as he pits, and that is partially representative of how quick he's been. He's had a good night so far overall, and should take away really good points to maintain his spot in the regular season playoff grid. But now here comes your leader, Nick Nickerson, on pit road as well. So the first car on track who has pitted already will be Cody Welch, who may get a spot on Ricky Hart Jr. Might. There is Ricky on the pit exit road, so Cody should pretty comfortably get a couple seconds on him, but I don't think it's much going to matter. Remember, the same thing that happened last time should happen this time on tires, where those fresher tires for the guys that pitted a little bit later going to come to their benefit and allow them to make up that gap. Up on the track, meanwhile, goes Nick Nickerson, and again, we're just waiting for him to finish up his final pit stop of the race, and he's done. So Nick could just focus on the actual race car driving for the rest of the race, and I'm sure that appeals to him quite heavily, because the just pure racing is what he is, best known for, and it's the reason he is arguably the best in Bandit Racing League Series history. And in conversation with this guy here, Kevin Foster, who becomes your new race leader. Of course, he is the only multiple-time champion of the Bandit Racing League, 2-timer to be exact. So off turn number 4 he goes. He's going to take the lap lead, and I think second of the race. So sort of a consolation here for Kevin Foster, and always nice to get a one up on his teammate for the night, who otherwise has been borderline unstoppable. So there you see the gap on the track. The 85 car again is closer than he was before, but as we come to 24 laps to go this time, it is just not close enough, especially with Nick. Again, having the more favorable tires, having the more pace overall, I think Nick is just gonna buckle down right now, and the question will come down to cautions, if we see one or if we don't. Now Bret Guzik here in the L4 car again, gonna start to track down Cody Welch up ahead and get the gap about 1.25 seconds there to catch his rival there for that final podium spot. Ricky Hart Jr. has fallen out there of the top 3. Remember, he was passed in the very late stages of that last stint by Bret Guzik, and now he is sort of settling in. Just again, that's been kind of the night it's been for Ricky Hart Jr., but that's not what it is in the car. It's not like Ricky's gotten any more passive or isn't trying to win, isn't trying to run fast laps. I think the guys around him really have they've always had that extra gear they can kick it into the entire race, and I feel like now is the moment they're like, okay, really just got to run good lap times. Let's close this out. Let's seal it for the night. And now they're starting to do just that. So, again, 2 or 3 of the very best in the series, I think, are showing exactly why that is the case. And Curtis Yancey, as well as actually the resurgent Christopher Hamilton. I know he still has to pit, but made up that lap. Remember, Christopher Hamilton, who sits in 7th, was a lap down when tonight's race started. Has worked his way all the way back up currently to 7th. So great recovery for Christopher, who again was back all the way to the end of the field, started up there in 2nd. So been a weird night for him, but he is back up into 7th and now pits onto pit road for his final stop. So we'll probably cycle out a little further back in the field. This battle getting ready to kick off here. Bret Guzik and Ricky Hart. Not the battle I thought we'd see first. In fact, Cody Welch is actually making a little bit of a break for it from Bret Guzik. That gap was 1.15 seconds, now up to 1.4. So he's starting to extend it a little bit, folks, even though he should, again, be on older tires that should give more grip and more pace to the guys behind him. But Cody has really averaged out his lap times with Nick, too. He's only 2.5 seconds back as we speak, which not bad considering the tire discrepancy. So yeah, I guess we'll see if Ricky has anything left in the tank here to give a good shot at Bret Guzik and, again, try to take that what is currently the final podium spot, but I think we'll more likely... I'm just confident those tires are going to give out on Cody at some point, so I think these will become the final podium spots unless the 85 car can really run a great defense. But to make it interesting, we have a caution. Mark Allen Bivens brings out only your 2nd of the race, and that'll put us under yellow with 19 laps to go, so should give us a nice little restart there, make this interesting, and that is the last thing that 2 car wanted to see. Going back to your full send racing replay here, where we're going to go see Mark Allen Bivens. What happened to him? I think on the pit exit road, got loose there a little bit too tight. The back end just kicked around on him and slid it right onto the entry, or say the exit of the end of the pit road there. So I would have thought they would keep it green for that. Wasn't on the racing surface, didn't have any cars coming by, but I guess iRacing felt that it was worthy enough of a caution. And that is a caution that is going to throw this whole race into chaos here. So, well, as Nick goes to catch the pace car, we will keep an eye out and see if anybody comes down pit road this time. But we're going to take one last little break here just to get through this last phase of the race, this last run to the finish. And that way we can just go straight through post-race, do your interviews, and do your post-race without any additional breaks. So again, one final break to cap off the night, and thank you as always to Lake Storage, your sponsor of tonight's Lake Storage 125 here at Chicagoland. We're going to go side by side. We'll keep an eye on pit road, and we'll be back here on Full Send Racing Network in just a moment. Well, as your leader, Mr. Nick Nickerson continues to pace around behind the pace car. Well, we are back here live at the Chicagoland Speedway, the virtual speedway here on iRacing, our simulator of choice for the Bandit Racing League. And, well, let's take a moment to shout out a couple other things tonight. Of course, Lake Storage, your sponsor of tonight's race. But as always, we do need to mention our series sponsors, as we'll mention later. But one of our most important sponsors and the title partner of this series is Geezer Authentics of the Geezer Authentics Xfinity series. And, well, they are our merch provider, our merch sponsor, run by Bill Harkins, that makes all of our great merch of all sorts, shirts, t-shirts. We got sweaters, we got pants, we got drinkware. We have a variety of great things, some decals and various other stuff here. Look at the recent Rollcraft t-shirt. Rollcraft, the sponsor of the number 11 car of Benny Hogan and the number 5 of Bill Harkins. So you can get everything in a variety of colors, variety of sizes, ships to the States as well as Canada. And again, you have so many customization options. We have options to support individual drivers. We have General Bandit Racing League merchandise, just a variety of everything you could want. And the best place to go find more General Bandit Racing League stuff, that more than just the merch, but the merch as well, is the Bandit Racing League website here. You see at banditracingleague.com. There you go. You see information about the Rogue Energy Triple Crown Challenge. You see info about each and every driver. We have some hometowns, some personal info about them, as well as a picture of their car livery. You get a link to the Sim Racer Hub page, which is our official service that provides us our points and helps track the stats in the Bandit Racing League. You can get a week-by-week update of the schedule, as well as every winner this season. You have a direct link to Apex Sim Racing if you are interested in picking up some personal sim racing merchandise for yourself to help you get in the sim world with us. That is where you go to do it. But again, it also gives you a link to Geezer Authentics, home of all the Bandit Racing League merch. So thank you to Geezer Authentics, and thank you to our partners such as Apex Sim Racing for making all of that possible. 15 to go. It's going to be 14 at the line. It's the two of Nickerson leading Hart, Welch, and now Bret Guzik down to turn number 1. The final battle to the finish. Who will win the final race of the regular season here at Chicagoland? Cody Welch trying to put his name on the conversation for that, to get that first win since season number 8. As he comes up the inside of the line on Ricky Hart Jr., who again we know had pace earlier, and we know Cody's on older tires, but he is going to fight and claw his way to the finish. We know that. We've seen him before do just that very same thing. Eddie Hagee back there in 6th. I want to just point him out. He's currently within a second of the race lead. He's swerving all over the back bumper of Curtis Yancey, trying to attack for the top 5. It's been a great night for Hagee. Really excited to see Eddie doing that well. Former friend of the series currently. Former co-commentator alongside me earlier in the season. But Eddie's doing great, and so is Ricky Hart Jr. Up the inside goes the number 1 car. Now in the more optimal line, we have another yellow flag. What was a very, very green race to this point in the night has suddenly become a little bit more caution-filled, as that's Bill Harkins once again, second incident of the night. Coming back on track there off of turn number 3. We'll go to the Apex Sim Racing replay, see what brought out caution number 3 of the night. Further up the order, Hayden Paul just absolutely lambasted the outside wall there. That's where that all got kicked off. So the 54 car of Hayden Paul is going to be the root cause here. So again, off of turn number 2 he comes, catches the outside wall. You can see sparks coming up, gets loose, and then just drills Bill Harkins there, bouncing back off the outside wall. Not much Bill was going to do about that one, and even less once the car went around for Hayden Paul. So one more time, going to go on board here with Bill Harkins. Get his perspective. Going to go a little bit further back than that. BLC, I think just little to no reaction time. There goes the 54. Hits it once and just straight down in front of him. Nothing you're going to do about that. Those are the moments that really frustrate you as a racing driver. Just, stuff out of your control is what you try to avoid and try to minimize in racing, and sometimes you just cannot do that. So, well, there you go. Back to the yellow we go. Going to get another shot or another opportunity for Nick to pull away on the restarts there. He's always been quite good at restarts, but particularly tonight, this track just seems to work for him. The angle he takes down there into turn number 1, I think suits his driving style quite well. So it'll be Nick and it'll be Ricky. I'm curious to see if anybody thinks about fresh tires. I know we're fairly far into this tire stint, going to be somewhere in the ballpark of about 20 laps. I think new rubber definitely going to have an advantage, but it is always that cat and mouse game of how many guys behind you are going to come down pit road as well. Are you going to hang yourself out to dry on track position? Because new tires are great, but you can't be back there in 21st with 3 to go trying to make it up there on fresh rubber. So We will see if anybody makes that bold strategy call. Yeah, Bill not happy there, unfortunately, in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. That was the definition of wrong place, wrong time there, Bill. Really sorry to see your night end like that, or at least a contention there for the top 10. Racing's full of these moments, and the way that backstretch is sloped here at Chicagoland is definitely full of moments like that. So, yeah, looking down pit road, nobody. It looks like Ricky Hart was thinking about it, but maybe just a fake out for the guys behind him. He will stay out. So, Benjamin Lacey now back down pit road again. The guy that he's been a number of laps down after that early incident, by the sounds of it, on pit road with Dawson Guzik. That has kind of put him out, and there's Bill Harkins though, still coming down pit road as we speak. The 5 car is joined by Kevin Foster, who currently sits in 11th on the lead lap. So Kevin's going to be the guy to be bold, take the fresh tires. I don't think it's a bad call whatsoever. I think that could potentially put him back in the hunt for a top 10. Maybe not for the race lead, because still quite a ways down. He's gonna cycle out after his pit stop. But again, the power of fresh tires cannot be understated. And it's going to be 8 laps to go here, I believe, when we go back to green. So not a ton of time. That works out to about 4 laps with 4 minutes with 30-second laps here at Chicagoland. But still, it's not nothing, and could be significant enough for a pretty good charge to the finish for Kevin Foster and anybody else who decides to be bold and take tires in one of these stints. So remember the order. It's going to be Ricky Hart Jr. Starting in second behind the number 2 car of Nick Nickerson. And it's Welch and Guzik in third and fourth. We'll do another mini through the field here, presented by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. It's going to be Cody Welch there in third position. Again, older tires, but going to try to fight, I'm sure, for everything he's worth to stay on the podium. Get a chance to talk to us in the broadcast booth post-race. Got Brett Guzik sitting there in fourth, just ahead of Curtis Yancey. Both guys who have shown pace at different points in the run. I think Curtis was a little bit quicker early. Brett Guzik's definitely found the pace as of late, but we would not be surprised to see either one of these guys, I would think, end up back in the top 3. Alec Daffin sitting there in 6th. Pretty quiet night for him so far, but pretty consistently fast. The 48 car has always shown the potential to get up there if he gets a restart, with how consistently he keeps his times within the ballpark of the 2 and the 1 car up front. So could have a pretty good run here at the end. Benny Hogan to his outside in the 11 car. And we got Jason Greenwell and David Lakey are going to swap back and forth a couple times, but they will start on row number 5 nonetheless in 9th and 10th. Then it's Foster in 11th on new tires. Don't forget about him. That 8 car could be a sneaker pick to win tonight's race. But that'll cap off your little through the field here. Just a reminder of where everybody sits as we come to the green flag here. Lights of the pace car are off. We got 8 laps to go here at Chicagoland. 8 laps left in the Bandit Racing League Season 10 regular season. I hope you guys are all pumped. Hope you guys, let's throw some final predictions down there in the chat. Who do you think's taking the regular season championship away? And who do you think will be tonight's winner of the Lake Storage 125 here at Chicagoland? I think Nick's the favorite, but 8 more laps. Plenty of time to decide. As the lights on the pace car are off, it's on pit road, and Nick is off. Another great jump, confident on the gas pedal, and green flag here for the 4th time in tonight's race at Chicagoland. 8 more laps to go to crown your winner. Into turn number 1, Ricky Hart Jr., a really good run, partially thanks to Cody Welch, who decided to just slide in behind, give him some support. Tap there to the 80, from the 85 to the 04 car, as he makes a little bit of contact with the left side, gets it even back out, and does not send either driver around. But Ricky Hart is going to have a new competitor there for the 2nd spot as Brett Guzik goes all the way around to the outside. Good run by the 04 car. Puts Cody out of the top 5, and now he's under attack once again from Curtis Yancey, who gets loose a little bit in the tri-oval, goes all the way down to that infield grass. Going to sweep up a little bit, try to avoid contact. They're going to come close. They do make contact. Just does not quite have the room, does Curtis Yancey. He'll have to slap back into 5th. And Alec Daffin and Eddie Hagee continue to go side by side, but it's the battle for the lead is what we're focused on watching. And how hard will the teammates fight? Nick knows that a win would be great to build more momentum. I'm sure he's hungry. I'm sure he wants it as a racing driver. But Ricky Hart Jr., man, his teammates been looking for that win for a very long time. From that early pace, the number of laps he led there at the beginning, he knows it's not out of reach. He knows he could absolutely go for it. So I hope if he can get close enough, we see that 1 car go on the attack. But they do have a pretty fair opening to the next car back. 4 tenths behind is Brett Guzik, and you see there Cody Welch, Yancey, and Hagee just ahead of that side-by-side tussle between Hogan and Daffin. which has currently been won by Benny Hogan in the Rollcraft number 11 car. But back up front, control continues to stay with the number 2 car, although okay, he's keeping with him. The number 1 car, Ricky Hart Jr., still within 310, still going to be in the draft. It's just what can he do in the corners? How much grip is left in that number 1 car? If it's a fair bit, which it's going to be just less than Nick, you've got to think, because Nick did pit a couple laps later. But this could not be over there. Still keeping it within 4/10. We're coming to 4 laps to go, so running out of time is Ricky Hart Jr. More importantly than anything, they are just pulling away these two from the rest of the field. It's going to be Bret Guzik settling into 3rd there, just ahead of Yancey and Haggy. But incredible race so far for both these guys. No matter who comes out on top in these final couple laps, it will be a well-deserved victory in my books there. They're coming to 3 laps to go. It is still about a half-second gap between the number 2 and the number 1. Not in that order, though they were for quite a while. And again, really just, it's been such an interesting season with the way GFR Racing as an organization interacts with the rest of the series, because there would be some nights where it's like this. It feels like the GFR cars are the only guys with the pace necessary to just absolutely take over a race, and the other guy's got to win on some fun strategy. But then it was the resurgent season of Benjamin Lacey. It was Bret Guzik following up last year and proving that the championship was not a slump. And then you'll get races where the GFR guys will just kind of fade to the background. Not tonight. These top 2, I know that the teammates of Kevin Foster, who does continue to stay in the equation, and Christopher Hamilton, who unfortunately fell behind with bad luck early, they are there, they are present, but it really is just somebody in the stable is always the fastest on any given night, and that's what makes them so good. Off of turn number 4, we're just watching this gap as it gets bigger and bigger. The battle for 3rd will continue to heat up here for the final podium spot, but the white flag comes out, courtesy of Apex Sim Racing. And 1 more lap to go for this man, Nick Nickerson. Gonna look back here for a brief moment, keep an eye on this battle for 3rd. Curtis Yancey gonna get 1 more shot here off the final turn. Bret Guzik there sitting in front. Where will he place the car defensively into turn number 3? Gonna stay high, gonna give the opening. Will Curtis put the bumper to him? He will, he does put the bumper to him, shakes him aside. Curtis will take over 3rd, but coming to the line, not just your race winner tonight at Chicagoland, but your regular season champion. Nick Nickerson wins it at Chicagoland and has won the Bandit Racing League Season 10's regular season championship with the most points of anybody through the first 16 races. Congratulations to Nick. It's Ricky Hart and Curtis Yancey with a bump and run to Bret Guzik in the final turn. We are going to let Nick do some victory laps here. That 2 car has been foot to the floor since he picked up the win here just a moment ago. He is not slowing down. Gotta think Nick is excited about that one, as he should be. Makes his return after a week off at Talladega and caps off the regular season title in style. With that, he is going to pull into the into the trial here. Holy cow. Coming in with some speed there, so he'll do a quick little spinaroo there, and he's just gonna burn the tires out. We're gonna get ready for his interview here in just a moment, but first let's give him a chance to celebrate here tonight, because after that early dominance by Ricky Hart Jr., Nick put it in gear, figured it out, and just locked it up, and will take home not only again the race win tonight at Chicagoland, but also the Bandit Racing League Championship. Nick Nickerson is Marshall up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, man.
Howdy, Nick. That is what we like to see. Way to end it off on a high note there for the regular season championship. Didn't just do it on points. You went out there and took away the win here at Chicagoland. And early on, I got to say, your teammate Ricky was he was proven there was pace in that one car. It wasn't just the two car leading the stable tonight, but it looked like something clicked for you there after that first stint. The pace picked up, you tracked down Ricky, you had a bunch of restarts to work with, and you beat all of them. What improved for you so drastically throughout the course of that race?
Yeah, first off, Ricky did an awesome job, man. He really showed his potential there. You get a couple more of those, then he'll be rattling off wins in no time. So I actually had a little bit of a misfortune in that first stint. About the time that Ricky passed me, and then I think Curtis also passed me. Like, I was going for my keyboard, and I pressed some button on my keyboard that turned my sound off. So I had no sound for like 10 laps. And then I was sitting there kind of like pressing those buttons in the area that I accidentally pressed, hoping to like, turn the sound back on.
Yeah.
And I guess there's some button that brings my full screen iRacing to a windowed version, and then I had some window on top of it, so I had like this white box like right in the center of my screen. So I had to wait until I got to pit so I can alt enter back to full screen and get that white box out of the way. So I was kind of trying to maintain speed, but I couldn't see the wall, so I had to like try to keep off the wall and not slam that. I was just preserving my my car until I got into pit road. But after that I was able to go on my leisurely way and click off the laps.
Yeah, and indeed you were. That last stage of the race was all the two cars. So yeah, you wrap it up there pretty comfortably. You were fastest by a mile there most practice. You took away the Rogue Energy Pull Award tonight, and then you just cap it off there at the end. It looked like there was nobody else on the level of the two car. I know you've been fast all year and you're going to be fast into the playoffs, but Chicagoland, a pretty good track you enjoyed, and are there any tracks coming up that you think will be good in the same ways for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I never really, before tonight, I never would have said that I like Chicagoland. It just kind of worked to my favor with this car and setup, and I was able to find a line that made me feel comfortable and wasn't chewing up my tires too badly. I could probably say that about just about every track if I put enough time into it and, really figure it out. But we'll just have to see. I mean, we got a lot of good tracks coming up. Things are going to start getting a little heated, I'm sure, between the 11 of us these next few races, now that everybody gets kind of a clean slate in the points. That makes it to the playoff. That made it to the playoff, of course. Yeah, man, I'm kind of looking forward to these next few weeks. It's time to go to work.
Yeah, it really is. This is buckle down time. The points going to reset there. Everybody going to be much closer. Again, that top 11 is going to be really fun to watch. I think it was the top 11 we had coming into tonight that'll come out as your top 11 that will battle for the championship. But comparing this year, as we get to the end of the year, the final 6 races to go for the title, you've been here every season I've been here in the Bandit Racing League. You've been one of the top competitors. So the question is, how does this year, what's your level of confidence at? What are your nerves like about the other drivers and their abilities comparative to last year or the year before when you won the championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot harder to get these wins. I mean, sometimes, like this race in Charlotte, I was just fortunate enough to find something that maybe not everybody could right off the bat, but I can't say that for every race this year. I mean, I've had some pretty bad ones where I couldn't figure it out, and you got Bret and everybody else that figured it out way before me, and sometimes I don't figure it out until like halfway through the race. Sometimes it takes half a race of just kind of, all right, let's get in a groove, and then I'm like, oh, this works, well, let's do this. And sometimes halfway through the race is too late. Sometimes it's just enough to get to the front and take a win. But the competition this season is just it's higher than it's ever been, and it's going to be tough. We got Bret, Lacey, Ricky. If Ricky can do what he did tonight, that's just one more car that I have to like weave around to win this championship myself. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be a good playoff season. Hopefully there won't be too much heat thrown at each other, but as racers, we like to yell at each other during the race, but we're all friends at the end of the day. So yeah, man.
Well, it's never too bad to have a little bit of animosity. I think a healthy competition is what makes the great teams work. But yeah, it was great to watch tonight. Looking forward to talking to Ricky here in just a moment. But yeah, great to have you back, Nick. You were off there at Talladega, but you come back and remind us why I think you're the guy we got to watch going into what could be second straight championship in the Xfinity cars here in the Bandit Racing League. So you know what you got to do next week. I look forward to seeing you executing on it to start off the playoffs. But you know what to do here. You've been here plenty of times, and probably some special shout-outs tonight on behalf of the regular season championship. So any friends and family watching at home, any sponsors, you know the deal. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, I hate that I had to miss last week. You know, just a work ordeal, but it looked like a pretty dang good race. Although I really wanted to try once again to get that restrictor plate race.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. I got next season. But first off, you know, the good old sponsors: Big Red Propane, TechNet, Advanced Auto Parts, Neighbors, VIP Glass, Perfect Shine Auto Spa, and Sway Diazzo. I mean, all our partners in this little race team, where we're just racing on the internet. You know, I can't think of enough. And also Bowman of Classic Collision. And you know, Bill, all that he does for this league, I still think he's not going to go. He's not going to give up the league, but we'll see at the end of the season. But everybody that participates in this league, man, it's just, you know, once again, it's one of the best leagues that I think there is out there in iRacing right now. I mean, sure, we get our problems in the races, but who doesn't? But I think this is probably like one of the cleanest leagues that I've seen and raced in many, many years. And let me think of anything else. And I guess that's it. And Marshall, man, thank you for the broadcast, man. Definitely, I always love rewatching my race wins. It's always brings a smile on my face. Makes it a little easier.
Yeah, it must be nice to have a whole swath of options to choose from in that regard too, because this is probably in the ballpark of the 25th or something race win I've called for you. So great to see to talk to you again, Nick. Great to see you. And now it starts. Now's the serious stuff. So I look forward to seeing what you do next week at Darlington. Definitely a track where the best separate from the rest, and we'll see if you can be one of those guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
There you go, Nick Nickerson. Always the man to talk to in these broadcasts, because chances are on any given night you're probably going to hear an interview from one of, if not the definitive, one of the best in Bandit Racing League Series history. This is what he does when the moments are, when those clutch moments come up, when he really needs a race win, really needs a good set of points. He does so, and to win the race that gives him the regular season championship. Pretty good timing, if you ask me. So, well, now we just got to find your next driver, who appears to be available on Skype. So we'll try to grab him there if we can, and he is. So let's bring him up. He's ready there in the his virtual broadcast booth, and it's sim rig as we speak. There's our guy. And there we go. Now ready for your second interview of the night with your second place finisher, Mr. Ricky Hart Jr. Hey, Ricky, it is Marshall up in the broadcast booth. Got a copy?
Got you, Marshall. How you doing?
I'm doing well. That was a fun race to watch. That was a great little finish there. Some unexpected restarts, and you benefited pretty well from both. You got a shot. You got that position on Cody there at the very end, but unfortunately came up just short. You're looking great there at the beginning, so clearly the pace was there. Just what do you think was the missing ingredient there towards the end?
Oh, the missing ingredient. If only I knew, Marshall. If only I knew. Nick was quick. Nick found the line. Nick found his car. I thought I had something for him there on the first stint of tires. I went up. I got the lead. I didn't really stretch it that much, but I was gaining a tenth every couple of laps, so I was feeling good about it. I was like, okay, all I got to do is keep this pace, and then take it home. And then there, I think it was like the third stint of tires, I brushed the wall slightly, and then I was just plowing. I had nothing. Just lost everything. Couldn't turn the car. Went in for the last pit stop, freshened up the car, got some fresh tires, got back out there, found the brake pedal again, and I felt like I had the line. So then I started making some moves, and I was getting there. But at the end, Nick was just capitalized on momentum, and like I said, that guy is a machine. I don't know how he does it. He finds the right lines, and he can just stick to it every time. Like, there's no fault as he's going around, and I'm waiting. Like, come on, mess up, waiting to pounce, and it just never came. Never happened. He was just, at the end of the day, he was just quicker.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the case there for a while at the beginning. You really did look like the car to beat there early on. You get the pass done in that first stint, and then you just continue on after that. So it was a race that mostly went green, fairly few cautions, and we've seen a lot of those recently. I think this series is kind of shifting back towards a typically more green flag style of racing. So as we go to the playoffs, is that style of racing something you expect to see continue, those mostly green races? And how does your strategy heading into a race weekend change if you don't think you'll have that many restarts to deal with?
If I don't have that many restarts, I mean, I do the same thing every week. I practice, like I get to the Tuesday practice race. I try to get in early. If I feel like I have speed, like tonight I came in, I ran 2 laps, and then I was like, okay, I feel fast. I don't want to keep running and then lose something, so I just stop and then, hop into the race, hop into qualifying. So that's where I was at tonight. But like, if I feel like I'm going to go green, I feel like I practiced enough so that I know the line, I know the speed, and I just hope that I make the right strategy calls. I pit when I can, and a little bit of luck, and I'm there at the end with that speed. I mean, I'm feeling good. I didn't fire off fast at the beginning of this season, and I'm starting to, this is the second week in a row. I'm sitting here talking to you, so I'm feeling good going into the playoffs. Really excited, but yeah, it's the same thing every week. Just practice. If we don't have a lot of cautions, I'm just going to, hammer down. If we do have a lot of cautions, that just throws a huge wrench into it, and I'm just not going to pit a lot. I'm just going to try to stay out and hope the tires last.
Well, I think you're talking a lot about, the focus on into the playoffs, as I'm sure many guys are, and you are comfortably in there in the top 11. So definitely got to see yourself as one of the favorites there, especially with the pace you've had, consistency-wise, in the podium. Again, you've been talking to me plenty recently, and the top 5s as well. And that's, I think, what is going to set apart the champion this season, rather than having a bunch of wins in the last 6 races. So, going in, you talk about your teammate really top of his game. We know Benjamin's had a resurgent year. Bret's obviously the defending champion for a reason. He proved last week he can get it done in clutch time. So how do you change your approach? What can the one car do to kind of stand out in these next couple of races? And how do you knock off guys that just seem to be unbeatable when they get their track they're really good at?
I don't think I've figured out that yet. Otherwise, I'd probably have the W.
Right.
But just looking at all these guys that are strong, like Bret is a really smart driver. Ben is a really smart driver. Nick is just hellishly fast. I don't get it. It's unreal. But I think just watching all of them practice, and then trying to learn whatever I can from them, and then mimicking that, and then having a little bit of my my skill. I've been on iRacing for almost 10 years now. I've been doing this for a long time. I still haven't gotten it all figured out. But yeah, just watching those guys, seeing what they're doing, and then learning from them. And then hoping I'm there at the end to capitalize like I did tonight. Like, I started 4th. I was able to get out there. We got the caution, and I started on the inside, and I was able to get ahead of them and kind of stretch it. Like I said, I just didn't have anything for Nick there at the end. If I did, I think it would have been the first one you interviewed.
Yeah, well, hey, Ricky, you've proven in the past as a former series champion. I put a lot of stock into guys that are able to get it done there at the end of the year. We know you've done it before, and I don't think anybody in the series, with how much parity we've seen this year, is unbeatable whatsoever. So over the course of 6 races, it is a long time. It's a number of tries, but it's also not crazy long. So I think if you can just get in a good run of form, I think you got as good a shot as any. And tonight proved that there's always that top of the line pace. That the one car can be the fastest on track on any given night. So take all that, do your thing, prep, and I look forward to seeing how we start off next week at Darlington for you. But in the meantime, you were here last week, but an equally great performance this week. You got any friends and family you want to give a shout out to? Any sponsors you want to mention, or just anything you want to talk about? Now's your time.
Yeah, shout out to the league. Shout out to you guys. You're always up there doing an awesome job. I commend you for that. You do great. I watch these after the race, and I'm so glad that you put these on. It's awesome. But other than that, Big Red Propane, TechNet Professional, Advanced Auto Part, Neighbors Pool Services. I got my list this week. VIP Glass, Perfect Shine Auto Spa. Gonna mess it up. Sueño de Atzo Tequila. And big shout out to Robert Bowman of Classic Collision. Those are our sponsors over at GFR Racing, and my team. I have a lot of fun with those guys racing all year. Actually, everybody I'm racing with, the competition's just so high. Thank you to everybody, the viewers, everybody that's watching. I love this league. This is awesome. I'm glad I'm here again, second week in a row. I'm expecting to be here, the next 6 races. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm feeling good.
I gotta say, I think the highlight, Ricky, of you making the podium is hearing you pronounce Sueno de Atzo. I think that is really what keeps me going here for these post races. So thank you as always. I'm sure your sponsors there at GFR are very happy with the top 2, the way they came out tonight. So great racing, Ricky. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And again, I hope we're talking to you plenty throughout the playoffs, because that one car's win is coming, and it might be time for you to become the second 2-time champion in a couple weeks. So good luck. We'll talk to you next. We'll see you soon, and we'll see if we're talking to you next week.
I hear you, Marshall. Thank you. Have a good night as always.
Always a pleasure to talk to Ricky Hart Jr., who is tonight's runner-up here in the Bandit Racing League at Chicagoland in the Lake Storage 125. That being said, we're now ready for your final interview. There is no car on track to show, so we will go to the more general cams. But your final finisher there, after the bump and run, a big aggressive move there to take the final spot on the podium, it is Curtis Yancey. Let's bring him in the broadcast booth. Hey, Curtis, Marshall of the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I gotcha.
Howdy, Curtis. Well, it was under the wire there. You make the podium in the very last turn there. We saw that bump and that perfect move there. Perfectly timed, didn't spin him. Got the move done on Bret, and that's what we like to see from the 51 car. So talk us through those last couple laps and those final restarts and that final corner with Bret.
Yeah, my give a damn broke. He throws a slide job on me with 40 to go. Wasn't going to clear himself. He complained about another guy earlier in the race, driving next to him when he was a lap down. So I don't know what his deal is, but he fenced me. I bumped him. I feel like I came out better than he did. I'm the one sitting here talking to you, not him.
Very, very true. Well put. And that is sometimes that's racing. That's what you got to do to get it done. And that's the attitude that I like to see. You've had a really, really good composed year. We always talk about how your long runs have grown. You just, as a driver, I feel like you've improved and improved every time we've watched you. But that attitude, that nice, willing to make the move when it's necessary to, that attitude is something I think a lot of the guys at the top of the series don't have. So, is that something you're really going to try to refine here as you go back to the playoffs, or I believe the 3rd consecutive season this year? What's sort of the big things you want to accentuate about your driving style to go for the title? Because tonight proved there's always pace in that 51 car.
Yeah, with I think 3 of the 5 races being short tracks, I think a lot of things could happen. Just got to make sure we survive through. Not make too many enemies in the playoffs, but with 3 short tracks, it's going to be hard to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Not typically an easy race for those just trying to come away with points, especially those in championship contention. But generally speaking, tonight just proved that you continue to have a really good pace generally everywhere. I feel like last year the short tracks were definitely your place to go, or a place where you thrived. But you've kind of sort of learned to adapt everywhere. And I'm kind of curious, like, what's your preparation process look like as far as how much time are you able to practice per week? And are you somebody who kind of balances your time in every different track equally? And is that going to change in the playoffs this year?
I think I'm probably going to get a little bit more practice in. Usually I just come and run the Tuesday night practice races, maybe throw 30 laps at a track before on a Monday. But whatever I can get on Tuesday, if I can even get in on Tuesday. Other than that, it's just run as much practice as I can on Wednesday. But hopefully going into the playoffs, we'll try to get a little bit more practice in, because it seems like I need it. I haven't gotten a win this season, and it sure would be nice to talk to you first instead of second or third.
No, 100%. But yeah, again, you're getting closer. One of those guys like Ricky, like Cody, who every time they show up, they're right there on the cusp. And, Ken, again, back into the playoffs, this is the time where I think a lot of guys are going to kind of look at their style, look what they need to do to not just be, quick, be in the top 11 best guys in the series, but need to be the best. What do you think it's going to take this year? What do you think the champion's going to need to have at the end of the year to become the champion? And how are you looking to get there?
Just got to go hard, 100% attack mode all the time, except when you can't. I think next week we're going to Darlington. You can't attack there 100%, or those walls are going to attack you all the time. So places like Darlington, you're going to have to kind of conserve, maybe Martinsville a little bit. But just got to go, send it.
Perfect. Yeah, send it carefully, I think is a great way to sum it up. So Yeah, Curtis, that style there of yours, that what we saw at the end there, that's what makes me excited to watch you in the playoffs again, because we always know there's always the possibility that 51 car could move its way through the field pretty darn quick, and you did it tonight. You're back here talking to me, and again, as you say, it could be just a few weeks until you're the first interview of the night here. So, well, you know what to do. You've been in the interview booth for a number of seasons now. If you got any friends, family watching at home, you got any sponsors you want to shout out, or anything you want to mention, just now's your time.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for putting everything on. I know it's a lot of hard work. I want to thank Bill, all the admins that put the race on, race control. They do one hell of a job. Just want to thank everybody that puts this on. What else would we be doing on a Wednesday night?
Exactly. Hey, we're more than glad to give all the fans watching at home something to do on a Wednesday night, and we wouldn't be able to do so if you guys weren't putting on a great race on the track. And you certainly did tonight, Curtis. That move at the end was great. That's what we like to see. And just thanks for everything you do, man. Congratulations on another podium, being back here, and again, being one of the favorites there in the playoffs. It's not an easy feat, especially not over 16 weeks, and I can't wait to watch you go for the title this year.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. That'll round off your final interview of the night with Curtis Yancey in third position. So tonight, your winner, Nick Nickerson, takes the win and is your regular season champion. I can now officially confirm that the drivers making the championship are the same as who came in tonight. So remember your top 11, and I'll do a quick recap for you. I don't quite have time to get the graphic up on screen here, but your top 11 will be Nick Nickerson, Bret Guzik, Benjamin Lacey, Alec Daffin, Curtis Yancey, Ricky Hart Jr., Christopher Hamilton, Joshua McQuiggan, Brandon Jackson, Jason Greenwell, and Mark Allen Bivens are your 11 drivers who will make the championship 11 and will go for the point reset next week, and then in turn will take their shot at crowning themselves the season 10 champion. It's not going to be easy. There's a lot of competitive drivers in there, and certainly some names that I think could truly kick it into another gear. But we're joined in the booth here by Bill Harkins.
What's happening, Marshall?
How's it going, Bill?
Well, a bit of a rough night. It looked like I was a ping pong ball at one point. Other than that, not bad. I thought the race seemed was pretty good. Hope it played out good for everybody, but we've got our 11 set now, so on to Darlington we go for the Military Appreciation Night.
Yeah, awesome. Really looking forward to it. We got plenty of stuff planned, and yeah, definitely one you guys don't want to miss out on, especially those that enjoy honoring, I would say, really our troops, even as a Canadian. I feel like definitely have a lot of thanks to give, and of course, one of the most noble things we could do. So great to be able to give back and support next week, and really looking forward to that. A great track as well. So should be an awesome night. And again, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday.
Yeah, and we will be. I don't know if you've touched on this. If you have, I apologize, but we will be giving some merchandise away for the Military Appreciation Night, as well as Martinsville will be doing a Fan Appreciation Night, where we'll give out some merchandise similar to like we did last year, maybe 3 shirts that people can select from this. Last year we did the league shirts. I think this year we'll just let people have a random selection of what shirt they would like. We'll give that option this year. And then for the Military Appreciation Night, there's going to be a special shirt that's produced for that, and all the proceeds from any of the sales will go directly to the vetmotorsports.org, so to help them out, because that's a very good cause and one that I really like to be involved in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So there you go. It pays to be a Bandit Racing League fan. Lots of incentives for you guys to tune in next week. And of course, again, for a great cause as well. So it doesn't get much better than that. So we'll talk about plenty more about that next week. But again, be sure to tune in for next week's race at Darlington for Military Appreciation Night. And then for Fan Appreciation Night a few weeks later in our race at Martinsville. So plenty of fun stuff coming up to finish off August.
We'll say one last thing and then I'll get out of here and you can do your closing, Marshall. Thank you again for a great regular season, and thanks for everybody that has stepped in and helped out also in the broadcast, because they've really made some really good broadcasts for us this year. Those of you that do watch for these appreciation nights where there's some free merchandise, how about telling some people that we're here, and let's get some support behind this, and really let's get some support mainly behind the vetmotorsports.org night. the more we can do for them, the better. So again, thank you everybody that watches. Thank you, Marshall. Congrats to Nick as the regular season champion. Shocker there. I'm sure you guys are all just on the back of your heels for that one. But anyhow, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. There you go. Bill Harkins here, founder of the series, and the guy who will be passing off the series on to the driver who comes away with the win in the Season 10 overall championship that will crown in just a couple weeks at Phoenix. With that, that'll bring us to an end tonight for the Lake Storage 125 here at Chicagoland Speedway. Of course, first we got to thank our partners in the series. Thank you to iRacing, the sim that allows us to put all of this on each and every given week. Geezer Authentics, the brand that brings us our merch, again, a courtesy of Bill Harkins. Geezer Authentics, of course, the sponsor of the Xfinity series here for Season 10 of the Bandit Racing League. Go check them out at geezerauthentics.com, linked in the description, or on the Bandit Racing League website. Apex Sim Racing, our official sponsor for the Apex Sim Racing White Flag and replays, and they are your place to go for anything related to Apex Sim Racing equipment. So button boxes, wheels, wheelbases, pedals, everything you need to get yourself into sim racing and get yourself started here on track, not just watching at home. If you want to join the Bandit Racing League, that's a great way to get started, and use code BANDIT at checkout for 5% off your purchase. Again, it pays to be a fan of the Bandit Racing League. Perfect Shine Auto Spa, as always, thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa on behalf of Kevin Foster, one of our favorite sponsors and longtime partners of the series. Track Cams for Gourmets, they bring us all these custom track cams like the overhead panning shot you saw just a moment ago. They are a custom track cam provider that you can contact for your own personal use or for use on broadcast with certain conditions in place. To find out more about that, contact the email in the description. Finally, Evan Wall Media, our founder, officially the founder of the broadcast a couple seasons back, was then passed off to Full Send Racing Network, but Evan Wall still joins us from time to time on commentary and is still our official provider of all graphics for the series. So we thank EvanWallMedia.com for bringing us this graphic and many others. And we sincerely thank Evan for everything he's doing. And of course, go check out his website for any graphic design work if you need a paint scheme or a custom number, or you just want to go see the stuff he's working on there. So check out his portfolio, check out his current video projects he's doing for a variety of short track stuff and many other things. That is where you go check him out. So thank you to EvanWallMedia.com as always. And of course, at the bottom there, we are the Full Send Racing Network. Well, for myself, and I guess you could say the rest of the team, I am Marshall Crocker Jr., your founder of Full Send Racing Network, and the guy who is proud to bring you this series each and every week. For myself, Bill Harkins, and all the drivers, thank you for watching tonight in the Lake Storage 125, presented by Lake Storage, and thank you to Mark Allen Bibbins once more again for sponsoring tonight's event, Lake Storage. Go check him out in the Arkansas area. And with that, we will cap it off for the night. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you all back next week at Darlington for the start of the Season 10 playoffs.